Wow, this Newcastle side is incredible. Isak, Gordon, I've never seen Saliba and even Timber have such a bad game for Arsenal. Kieran Trippier, probably very under the radar performance. I thought he was incredible. I think arguably you could say Kieran Trippier was man of the match. But this is Newcastle 2, Arsenal nil, 4-0 on aggregate. Newcastle will go into Wembley, and I tell you what, I fancy Newcastle. If they get Tottenham, we know the record against Tottenham. I think Newcastle are favourites, but they've given Liverpool a game. They give all the big sides a big game. Arsenal did not score in 180 minutes versus Newcastle, and I've never seen Saliba so bad. Isak has to be the best striker in the world because Arsenal were saying, Saliba, Gabriel, best centre-back pairing ever. Nah, they got destroyed. Gordon, the space he was getting into, the areas he was getting into, fantastic. And Newcastle deserve immense credit because all I'm seeing is mainstream media, going, oh, Arsenal got this wrong. Arsenal need a striker. Arsenal need Isak. And let's be honest, the difference between Isak and Havertz and Gordon and Martinelli, is probably a big reason why maybe Newcastle won the game because they have better attackers. But give Eddie Howe credit. I'm just saying, I can't believe Arsenal playing out from the back like that. They made that mistake. Oh, I can't believe they would do this and Arsenal would do this. Why don't you talk about Newcastle mainstream media? Why don't you give Eddie Howe credit for changing up and setting up near perfectly? The third centre-back stepping out, the man-to-man press, the fact that Newcastle let Arsenal have the ball and exploit them on transition. The way the press worked, Lewis Hall coming in, first centre-back coming out, that meant that Gordon had a bit more freedom not to, track Timber so much and stay up high. And Isak and Gordon were pressing the Arsenal centre-backs. And Arteta got out-tacticked. Arteta got out-coached. And I saw this tweet from Bernard Fawcett saying the problem with UK punditry is you've seen a perfectly executed press by Newcastle, so brave that their centre-back just forced a turnover on the edge of the position area. And what do they focus on? The error from Arsenal. Because Arsenal, they focus on Arsenal, they focus on Man United, they focus on Liverpool. But give credit. Give credit to what Bournemouth are doing this season. Give credit to what Newcastle are doing this season. Because this mainstream media always talk about Arsenal. Why don't you think Eddie Howe, he's in a final, Newcastle could get Champions League football? They've set up perfectly. Because Arsenal got out-tacticked. Absolutely out-tactic. And I want to talk about Isak. And I want to talk about my general thoughts and if I think Newcastle can win. And I want to talk about Newcastle this season. They need to give Trippier a massive shout-out. I thought Trippier was excellent. But I'm a Man United fan. Yeah, and obviously I did want Arsenal to lose the game, I'm not going to lie. They did say they got bigger fish to fry than the Carabao Cup, but I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. But give Newcastle the credit because everyone was wrong about them and the media will not give Newcastle the credit they deserve. And I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan. The high press, the man-to-man marking in the press, it disrupted Arsenal. Eddie Howe wasn't exactly parking the bus like Arsenal fans will claim. How high the centre-backs were, they're stepping up. They wanted to make sure that Isak and Gordon could be high so they could exploit that space. And that is the worst defensive performance I've seen from Arsenal, who were the clean sheet monsters last year. The game plan was better from Eddie Howe. He's 2-0 up. St James's Park was brilliant. The atmosphere was brilliant. The first Isak goal, if that was just offside, that was unbelievable. But from the minute the game went on, you would think Newcastle were the team 2-0 behind. The way that Newcastle just went at Arsenal. Honestly, I know Arsenal did all right at first and they had a lot of the ball. And I think it was Odegaard that missed that chance. But Newcastle, they wanted it more. But Dan Burn mostly stepping up as the third centre-back. Lewis Hall sometimes coming on the inside. Not as a third centre-back. To overload the midfield. So Dan Burn stepping up as a third centre-back. One of the centre-backs stepping up. Lewis Hall coming on the inside. I've got my bullet points wrong. It worked well. Gordon didn't have to trap Tim because he could stay high as a potential transition outlet. Murphy and Lewis Hall stepping in. Gordon and Isak just put Saliba and Gabriel under immense pressure. The energy from Newcastle, the man-to-man press, the third centre-back stepping up, the high line, the risks, the going man-to-man. The centre-backs were breaking lines and causing things to happen. And Arsenal, because they had to attack Newcastle, they had to score 2 goals. There was the space there. And I think Eddie Howe knew that, if you just get Gordon and Isak high to exploit that space, make those runs in behind because Arsenal are going to have to leave that space. Arsenal are going to have to attack. It's going to kill them. And the thing about Arsenal this season is when they're winning or that teams give them space, they play quite well. But the minute teams go into a low block or cause them problems, they struggle this season, Arsenal, particularly without Saka. But let's talk in more detail. Newcastle favourites if Tottenham hold tomorrow. If Tottenham get a result tomorrow, and something tells me that Tottenham will make it difficult for Liverpool because Tottenham need a trophy. I think with Newcastle and Tottenham, what I've noticed in these semi-finals is it means more to Newcastle and Tottenham than it does to Arsenal and Liverpool, and it should mean more to Arsenal because you haven't won a trophy in ages. I think Liverpool are focused on the Premier League, but if I'm Arsenal, I want that Carabao Cup. And you kind of see it in those games. I fancy Newcastle to give Liverpool a game. They got the 3-3. Newcastle give every big side a game. You cannot rule Newcastle out. I think Newcastle can seriously win this. If it's Tottenham, Newcastle favourites because their record versus Tottenham is unbelievable. But if they did it to Arsenal twice, Arsenal couldn't score a goal. They can give it to Liverpool. This Newcastle side, the team, they had a better mentality than Arsenal today. They wanted it more. They clearly wanted it more. The Arsenal teams, that's the mentality. I thought Odegaard went missing today. I think Saliba was particularly poor. The Newcastle game, Bruno Guimaraes was a leader. Kieran Trippier was a leader, organising the defence, telling people where to go. He was a leader. He was fantastic today, Kieran Trippier. And I think the five at the back does suit him well. But Newcastle, they played their hearts out from minute one. Botman was great. Isak was great. Isak was getting the ball, running in behind with it. Honestly, the goal that was offside was unbelievable. The second goal, I think that was his weak foot, which obviously fell off to Murphy. Unreal. But Eddie Howe deserves the credit. And I thought Gordon was fantastic today. He was making something out of nothing. He was constantly making the runs, constantly making the press. I've never seen Timber look so out of it. Calafiore came on for Timber. That tells you everything. They were absolutely excellent today. Fantastic. These are all my notes, and I probably should have made them a bit smaller, but I just couldn't be bothered to shorten them, to be honest. I just went, proofread it, paste in. But Bruno Guimaraes puts in a shift. Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali. I think Tonali, particularly, is going under the radar because people are talking about best midfielders in the league. Gravenberch's been unbelievable. Casado's been unbelievable. And I think only Newcastle fans talk about how good Tonali's been. Again, I've not seen any, mainstream media talk about Isak. They normally talk about Isak to Arsenal, but mainstream media is like, yeah, Isak's unbelievable. But Tonali deserves so much more credit than he gets. We hear about Isak, we hear about Bruno Guimaraes. Everyone knows that unreal players. Tonali is in that level. He's been fantastic this season. But as I said, the game plan worked. Eddie Howe got spot on. The game plan worked. Arsenal had to attack. Newcastle exploited them behind. Arsenal couldn't score a goal in 180 minutes because people like Kieran Trippier showing his leadership there, organising the defence. Newcastle, when they didn't have the ball, were changing, possession out of possession. Sorry, changing formation out of possession. They were getting themselves organised. They were getting themselves compact. They were getting themselves behind. And this Arsenal side struggles to come from behind. I wasn't impressed by Arsenal. I thought there were some dives in there. I thought they were going for set pieces a little bit too much. They need someone that's going to break down that low block because the amount of space that Newcastle had in transition at times, particularly to begin, was big. And Saliba, man, I think Saliba's an unreal player, but this is why Isak's the best striker in the world for me. Because Saliba got done today. The difference in quality between Isak and Gordon and Havertz and Martinelli. Let's be honest, if Havertz and Martinelli were playing for Newcastle today and across the two legs, and Isak and Gordon was playing for Arsenal across the two legs, maybe Arsenal end up in the final. The quality's there. But Eddie Howe got his tactics spot on. The back five out of possession, outstanding, organised, frustrating Arsenal, the man-to-man press. As I said, it was fantastic. But I want to talk about Isak. Because he is filthy. The way he finishes, the way he goes 1v1s, whether it's a long shot, whether it's a tap-in, he's got it all. He scored tap-ins this season where Murphy's putting good crosses to him. And credit to Murphy, working hard, good player. He scored screamer, belters. He has the power he gets behind the shot, is ball striking. Isak running on the ball. He can dribble at you, he can take you on, he's quick, he's fast. Isak, we're talking Gabriel and Saliba. We're talking statistically last year in 2024, the best centre-back partnership in world football. And today, it was like Isak was playing against, I don't know, a League One side. It was like that. I think Saliba's an unreal player. And I think Saliba had that record for not being beaten 1v1. But Isak, unbelievable. And I tell you what, Arsenal, this is why you need a striker. Look at Isak, look at Havertz. This game just tells you more and more Arsenal need a top striker, and that will cost them this season. There's an opportunity there to close the gap on Liverpool. I think Liverpool will win the league, but you didn't sign that striker. You didn't push for that striker. And I don't think you're going to get Isak. Because I think if I'm Newcastle, you want 150 million for Isak. Would they pay 150 million for Isak? Would Isak even want to go to Arsenal? Because if Newcastle get Champions League football, Newcastle have ambitious owners. Newcastle, the side that could really push. Would he want to go to Arsenal? I'm not sure myself. But look, the Arsenal defence looks shaky. Gordon and Murphy caused them problems as well. I just thought Arsenal looked nervy. The mentality wasn't there. People used to say last season, Arsenal mentality monsters. They went on that big run, but the mentality wasn't there. I really did. I felt that, Arsenal were a bit shaky. They were a bit worried throughout the game. And I also saw this. I'm going to read this out. Opposition strikers beginning to target Saliba as they see him as soft touch, relatively speaking, compared to Gabriel, who's been immaculate this season. And I have to say, Gabriel has been better than Saliba this season. I agree with that. He's at world-class ability on the ball. What a strike that led to the rebound with the weaker foot. And even his touches, the way that Isak touched the ball, receives the ball. Honestly, I'm in awe. What's the word? Awe? Is that the word? No, Isak is so good. Everything about his game, the touch, the finish, the runs, the shot power, he can dribble, his back to goal play, he can link up. Like the things I would do for Isak at Man United, he wouldn't go to Man United. We're rubbish. We're rubbish. I'm not saying we'd get Isak at Man United, but honestly, like Isak, Musiala, Rodrigo, like none of these players are going to come near United, but you know what I mean. Like he's just a different level. But I want to give Trippier a shout out because everyone will talk about Isak, everyone will talk about Gordon. Trippier. I don't think Trippier's had the best season, but I think he needed to be kept around because of the depth and the experience of the leadership that he brings. Newcastle, I know you're not in Europe, but you still have a lot of games. If Livermore gets injured, he needed to be there. I get that Kieran Trippier will probably go, but he's played in the World Cup, he's played in the Euros, he's an experienced player, he's a big game player, he does his best work in a back five, but I thought actually it was more defensively off of the ball, organising it. Eddie Howe was changing it up tactically, and I felt that he was there to organise it, and it was a captain's performance. I think he won his duels, he won his headers, he put in a shift, he was there, you didn't concede, and I thought it was a really, really good performance from Kieran Trippier that I just wanted to give a shout out to because I think he deserves mass amounts of credit. But listen, people, I hope you do enjoy today's match reaction. I'm going to finish it here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.